Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Okay, so we're all aware that the market has dipped a bit, including XRP, after a monstrous, truly impressive run-up. So what happens next? Well, I made it very clear in my last video, it does not make a damn bit of sense to freak out. I'm going to share with you perspective from a number of people who have been in the space for quite a while, including XRP chart analysts specifically. One who thinks that XRP should get a very nice bounce soon. Another warns that although, yes, we're looking at double digits this market cycle, there is a reasonable chance XRP could have a dip even further to the downside. But by the way, if that happens, it's not a time to be terrified. This is what happens in markets. The weak hands get washed out. That's just how it is. But you shouldn't be surprised that after a massive run-up, when XRP went from 49 cents a couple weeks ago, all the way up to $1.62, it should not be surprising that there are people at that upper level that have been holding for a while that aren't necessarily looking for all-time highs. Maybe they are traders and they just want their profit. And so you have enough people that have enough unrealized profit they want to sell, you hit that wall. And that makes it very hard, in the moment anyway, to proceed to the upside. That's very normal in markets. It does not mean there is something wrong with XRP. And it happened with Bitcoin at the same level as it happened with basically altcoins on the whole. It's very normal. This is not terrifying. You should expect this to happen. In fact, it would be weird if this didn't happen, because that would be the first time in history in a market cycle where you just have nothing but up only. Because look, so there's the phrase up only in crypto. It's not to be taken literally. It's kind of a joke. It's where generally it's nothing but up. But of course there are pullbacks, okay? But I also want to share with you perspective from a few individuals who have clearly been through this before, and they're talking about how, look, this, if anything, this is a time to accumulate for those who wish to. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So here's this post from Chart Analyst Mustache, hashtag altcoins, and this is from just this morning after the dip was already going. He says, "This is a bull market. Dips are for buying. Crypto is at the beginning of a parabolic curve. Here's what I have learned over the last 2 cycles. Every aggressive dip leads to an even more aggressive rise thereafter." Yeah, so I'll pause to note that's certainly true if you're talking about in a bull market here. And so you got to decide what's best for you here. But like I mentioned in my last video, a key indicator of when to get scared that, hey, maybe we are kind of reaching a certain pivotal point where the market is finally going to start breaking down. It's when the whales start distributing, which is to say it's when the whales, which is the smart money, they start taking massive amounts in profit. And you can see that occurring at a time when the price of, maybe if you're looking at Bitcoin keeps going up. Eventually, you're going to have enough whales dumping in and not enough new retailers that you do reach the peak, and then the bubble's fully inflated, and then it pops. So we're going to get there. And as we're reaching that point, I'm going to be talking about that on my channel, because that's one of the many things that we should be watching. But I just, have some peace of mind here knowing that's not the case here. So if we don't rebound here, that would be the first time in the 15-year history of this asset class. You think the whales are going to get wrong-footed here? Because I sure as hell don't. That is not what happens. Here's a post from Analyst 50 Inverted, simply wrote, "Remember to pay yourself on green candles and not on red ones. Newcomers will sell spot on red days. Don't be like them. Use them to re-enter and add." Yeah, and so that's a general rule, of course, as is always the case. He doesn't know, I don't know, none of us know what your personal situation is. Maybe you absolutely, even at a loss, need to sell to get money out for some critical payment you must make. But as a general rule, when it comes to investing, if you've invested money that you're willing to lose in case this all goes to hell in a handbasket, but you don't need it out right now, what he's saying is absolutely correct. I will never, when it comes to crypto, I'm never going to sell at a loss. I have broad exposure to the asset class, and I don't expect it to literally end up profiting from every coin I've invested in. But since I have broad exposure, it's certainly been the case this far, that the winners you get are so substantial that it doesn't matter if you have some duds. It just doesn't. So if there are some positions where I never sell them, okay, I don't care. I'm looking at my overall crypto portfolio. And if they ever bounce back, cool, maybe I'll sell them then. That would make sense. But I'm not going to sell on a red day because of emotions. That is not how this works. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. It says, Crypto feels so nice at the minute. And I'll pause note, this is at 6:14 a.m. So markets start moving down. It says volatility is here. Alts are pumping in double-figure days. Bitcoin dominance still chilling around 59%. Oh, it's exciting to be a part of this. Dips are for buying. Enjoy. Yeah, and by the way, that's another metric. When Bitcoin dominance starts tanking, that's when the money starts heavily cycling into altcoins. That will be another thing to watch for. We are not there yet. This time is not different. Here's a post from chart analyst Tech Dev. Been following this guy for a real long time. 481,000 followers for a reason. This guy is all about logic, data, and reason, and that's my mantra, man. For sure, okay? Take the stupid-ass emotions out of this. What can we reasonably believe is probable, though not certain, based on historic precedent and what's happening in the charts? And so, just for some perspective, understand that whatever emotions you might be feeling today, this is what's been felt by every human in crypto, basically, for 15 years at any given moment along the path. Because you never technically know for sure what's in the future, but the thing keeps trending up, and for good reasons. And so here's what TechDev said. You see enough cycles, you see the same dynamics over and over. I remember the unbridled euphoria when Bitcoin hit $20,000 for the very first time. Bulls' mouths were on the floor. Then I remember the utter panic and dysfunction this place was in at $20,000 5 years later. As the months ahead usher in the next round of mania, understand how it will go. Bitcoin is the gas, and that gas pumps into large caps, catching most completely offside. Already started. So I'll pause and note what he's saying there is enough people early on, the smart money, put money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin pumps up in price. They take profit, and that's why he's calling it the gas. So they take profit, and then they put it into stuff that hasn't been running very much. Large cap coins, ETH, XRP, go down the list. Then mid cap, small caps, rinse and repeat. That's what he's talking about. We're waiting, and so that's when Bitcoin dominance decreases. We're waiting for that to happen. That has not happened yet. We're not seeing massive quantities of whale wallets sell yet. Like it's just not to the scale that you'd seen in previous cycles that would indicate that the market's at its peak. It's not happening yet. It just isn't. There's no. It makes no sense to freak out now. Anyway, he continues. Large memes accompany this part, but it's nothing like what comes later. As the gas flows to mid-caps, retail starts to pile in. The same people who asked, "You still in that crypto stuff, LOL, in 2022?" will text you, asking if it's too late to get in. As euphoria sets in, true euphoria, not the buzzword thrown around at every local correction, pure nonsense is sending. No one is sleeping, as it seems you can throw a dart at a ticker in 5x in 30 minutes. It will feel like it will never end. You won't be able to remember a time you didn't think the market would pump. But it will. And if you don't have a plan ready when mania hits, it will be too late. You'll have no clue how/when to exit, and will probably round trip. If you're here, you probably are better positioned than 90% will ever be. Don't waste it. Take your strategy as seriously as you took your conviction when you bought in a ghost town. Execute when the time comes and ignore the noise. That one gets a golf clap. Well stated, Tech Dev, and that is spot on. So yes, certainly have an exit plan for when we get there, which I think is a virtual inevitability, and also understand that the pullbacks in this particular juncture in time, it just shakes out the weak hands. That's all it does. It doesn't matter. You should expect this. We have 15 years of data telling you that in bull runs you should expect this should happen. So then, when what history tells you should happen in this environment does indeed happen, it does not make logical sense to be feeling scared. It does not make logical sense if you just look at the data. You shouldn't be scared here. I understand why you are, because you're a normal human. I get it. You're not bad or stupid, but just look at the data and find some peace in that. You should expect this. Because again, if say you hadn't jumped into crypto, I show you, here's the data, here's the ups and downs, percentage ups and downs, even in a bull market, and they can go down over 30%, and you should expect that if you're jumping into crypto in this bull market. Then you say, okay, so then when what I just showed you should expect to happen does happen, you're going to emotionally freak out? Are you serious? That's not logical. I get it, it's because we're humans, but that's why I'm highlighting this. You have to battle it for yourself. I'm just telling you, it doesn't make sense to be fearful here. Take a look at this post. This is from chart analyst E. Greg Crypto. Very optimistic here, and I think for good reason. Also warning that there's at least a possibility you could see a move to the downside. And he posted this at 3:17 a.m. This is before the dip, mind you, and he's still warning that the most recent dip anyway. Here, I can show you in a chart. So it was somewhere around this time. So the price XRP, yeah, so it hadn't dipped down to $1.30. It was around like $1.43 or so probably when he posted this. And still very optimistic, as you'll see, and he still is. And I still think, the idea of double-digit XRP, this price action, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't make price predictions, but that doesn't sound crazy to me. But still, he's warning before that, you could see a notable pullback. So check this out. Here's what he said. I'm growing more confident that the price target window sits between $13 and $27. It's not a wide range because when $27 is simply double 13, let's put it in perspective. From $13 to $27 is 107% increase. From 50 cents to $1.63, that's a 226% increase. Yeah, so I respectfully, I must state, I do feel a little bit different. I still think that's a gigantic leap to get from 13 to 27. I know that the percentage isn't much, but to get that, the more money is in an asset, the more it takes to get it to even just double. So I do feel differently about that. But as far as the price targets, I don't think they're crazy. Like, they certainly could be hit there. And then he says higher levels mean larger dollar moves, but smaller percentage gains. And then thin order books, he says, this creates bigger price swings at higher levels. Check this post for better clarify the thin order book, which I'm not getting into for the purposes of this video. Then he says, as prices rise, the percentage increase gets smaller, but the dollar value of each move becomes much bigger. This shows how higher prices can lead to huge returns, even if the percentage growth looks small. Yeah, so that's obviously true, and that's why it makes sense to just get in early and then have strong conviction. If you think whatever you're holding makes sense anyway, and then just hold for a really long time. So that's why my average. So some people have been jumping into XRP more recently, and I get it, and that makes sense. I'm just telling you, like, I've had my conviction literally for 7 years, and as a result, my average buying price is 25 cents. So if this runs up to 10, 20 bucks, if I were to hold any of my XRP that long, then I'll get to reap the benefits. So it'll be crazy percentages for me at such levels. But the thing is, so what he's saying here is so setting the percentages aside, it still is true in terms of the dollar figures. Those will dwarf what we've seen in previous cycles. But what really matters for any individual holder is the multiplier effect you get on what you invest, which is why I'm saying it makes sense to just have conviction and live through the volatility and just wait. And either your investment pays off, in which case, if you're sufficiently enticed in the future, you sell. And in the meantime, if you don't know, you just endure the volatility. That's how I approach it for me anyway. And then if you're wrong, maybe you're wrong, and then you never get a profit from certain investments, and that would be normal. And then he says here, measured move of the triangle. The measured breakout from the triangle aligns perfectly with the magic box at $13 to $15. He says, we're processing candle 1, which is breaking the triangle formation in the most bullish way possible. This candle has done its job. I don't see it extending further. And then there's candle 2, and I'll pull the chart up on the screen in a second here. Candle 2, he says, get ready for madness, and this is the warning here. XRP might drop to 75 cents. Yes, you heard that right. But from there, the thrust to break $2 will be epic, reaching $3.50 in a clear and open runway. This sets the stage for the final push to double digits. Yeah, and I'll just note, stuff like that can happen. So I don't know if it's going to happen. And to me, it doesn't matter because I just hold and watch. I'm just here for the fireworks. But, he was one of the people earlier this year that was warning, hey, if you look at XRP prices against Bitcoin, it's probably going to tank further, actually. And that wasn't to scare people. It's just what he thought was most probable. And he articulated why, and it did. XRP tanked much further against Bitcoin, but then it found a bottom on June 7th, and it's since then obviously just rocketed. Not up in a straight line, but it certainly has. And so don't think that can't happen. But if it does, it doesn't mean necessarily it's the end of the world, right? And then he says, candle 3, here's where the magic happens. Once we hit vacuum space, navigating to double digits becomes effortless. The fair amount of this ride is the magic box, landing us around $13 to $27. And here's the chart that he was referencing. So if you want to pause and take a look at this for a longer period of time, feel free to do so. Then there was also this from Crypto Michael. He said, XRP channel support hit. Hold this level and we should get a nice bounce. And so here's what he was citing was the most likely scenario. Something like this. So he drew a squiggle. It's not to be absolutely be taken literally, but that is kind of what we ended up seeing here. XRP did get down. I mean, that probably is somewhere around $1.30. So he seems to think that it's more probable that we're actually going to see just further moves to the upside, which is possible. I don't pretend to know, but that's the great thing about being a regular investor like you and I. Like, I'm not a chart guy. I'm not a finance guru. It's fun to watch because we have skin in the game. That's totally normal, of course. But in the end, like, even though I'm entertained by this, I admit, like, it doesn't matter. All this stuff that I've been watching on a daily basis, the price action, it's just because I'm genuinely intrigued and I got skin in the game. But either I'm right or I'm wrong. Either I'm wrong and XRP goes to zero, in which case, too bad, so sad for me. Okay, it's a possibility. Or I'm right, and eventually at some unknown point in the future, XRP hits a new all-time high and enters price discovery. One of those two things is going to happen, but everything else that's been happening for roughly 7 years in between, in the end, it's not going to matter. Either I'm right or I'm wrong, and I'm waiting to find out. I've been waiting for 7 years, but neither of those things has happened. So that's why I say whether the price goes down in the short term or up, okay, it is what it is. I'm here for the ride. And I think that's the right attitude to have about this, personally. Then there's also this from Charting Guy. He shared this this morning. He said, everything, 9:41 a.m., so this is after we could see that the market was starting to tank to the downside. He said, everything kind of hit a hard resistance, like I said the other day, when XRP hit $1.61. Should have some chop for a week or two, in my opinion, before we get a real breakout. Gotta punish people who got in late and scare them back out. Using this chop to accumulate more alts. Cycle ain't over. Things just now heating up, but went too far too fast. Needs a chill pill. Yeah, and so I certainly buy that. Not knowing whether we will go further down or further up in the very short term. The general idea that, yeah, we went up really, really fast in a very short period of time. Markets need to chill because there's some people that want to take profit. Yeah, that's very normal. You should expect that. No problem. The best is yet ahead. So if you're asking, okay, now what next? That. What's your time frame in the short term? Question mark. On a like a higher time frame, big picture. Well, by the time the cycle ends, I mean, so many people are listening right now, I'm willing to bet, are going to have life-changing wealth in crypto. That's what's next. Just depends on what time frame you're talking about. This thing's still going, folks. This ain't over. No, certainly not. The best days are yet ahead. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.